Welcome to another Tech Tuesday presented by Delta Media Group, where we realized why SEO content writers don't typically have twins. It's because they have such a problem with duplicate content. All you SEO people out there, you'll get me. You'll get me on that one. So, today we're going to take a look at the Marketwatch report system. So, to give you just kind of a general idea here, what the Marketwatch report is a report typically that will be sent out monthly, but that can be sent out on some interval that will contain information about a target market. And that can be average number of properties on the market currently, average days on market, average listing price, things like that. And it'll also show some sample properties from that market. Now, there are two different kinds of Marketwatch reports. So if we go up here, and we'll just go to a customer profile page, so I'll just type their name up in the quick actions box, and we'll click on their name here. So the first type is a customer-specific Marketwatch. So I can go here to this page, and we'll scroll down to the Save Searches and Marketwatch Report section, and I can add a Marketwatch right here that will be specific to this customer. So I'll just click Add a Marketwatch. I can choose to add it by a variety of criteria here. So market would just be a market name. Radius is radius on a map. Shape and boundary are also just shapes you draw on a map. And then predefined is actually a predefined boundary area. So it's also map-based, but these are areas you can select from. So I could select school district boundaries and then select a particular school district, and it would draw that boundary out on the map. So however I choose, and we'll just go by market on this one for the sake of example, and I'll type in my market name. The autocompleter will come up and it will bring me some options related to what I've typed in. There we go. That's a little slow on our test site, but it's normally much faster. And now this is loaded up, so I can go down here. I can put a little custom message on this. I can choose what day it starts sending if I don't want it to start sending right away. If I want it to only send for a limited amount of time, I can select an end date here, an expiration date. So let's say I only want it to run for a few months. I can give it a name, and you can see here that it will automatically add Marketwatch to the name. And if I don't specify anything in here, it'll take my market name. So I'll just make it my test Marketwatch. Well, we know Marketwatch is going to be part of it, so I'll just make it my test. And now I can choose the send interval for this. By default, it's set to quarterly, but I can have it send out monthly, bi-weekly, weekly, or I could even go as far out as semi-annually if I don't want it to send out quite as often. So we'll leave it on quarterly for now. And I can go down here, I can further choose any kind of property filters that I want to use on this Marketwatch. So by default, they're designed to look at residential listings, but I can look at different property categories if I'd like, or I could even stick with residential and I can narrow down the kinds of properties that this looks at. So if I am looking at a market area that has, say a wide price range of homes, and I'm only really interested in the ones that are relevant to my buyer that are within a certain range, then I can put that price range restriction on here so that it looks at properties that are a little bit closer to what the customer is actually interested in. And then as we go down here, I have a couple of additional filter options. And then lastly, I can choose the limit setting here for basically sold listings. So the idea is that if I don't put any limit on this, and this is a market that doesn't see a lot of activity, it might pull up sold listings from more than a year ago, and those might not be really representative of the state of the market right now. So what I can do instead is I can change this to, let's say, 60 days. And now if I do have sold listing data, the sold listings from this market that it will show on this report will only be those that have sold within the last 60 days. So it's just designed to make this report more indicative of the actual state of the market right now. Now when I'm all done, I just click on Done. And now I've created my test Marketwatch. And you can see it doesn't say Marketwatch here. It would in the email that actually went out to the customer. But that is how I can set this up. And now from here, I can go in and I can send it out manually if I'd like to just kick it off to that customer. You can see it's sent out. I can preview it here, which this is the email Marketwatch. So if I preview it, it will give me an email preview. I can click on details to get back into it to see more about that one. And ultimately, I can also send, edit, preview all from here. Or I can click on edit straight from here and I can go in and make whatever changes I'd like. Now the one piece I didn't touch on here, as you can see, there is a segments order tab as well. So when I'm setting up the Marketwatch, or if I go back and edit it, I can use this to control what sections appear on this Marketwatch just right from here as I set it up, in a way that's specific to just this Marketwatch. So there is a setting that allows you to set these defaults, and we'll get into that here in a minute, but When it comes to an individual Marketwatch for a customer, I can actually add and remove these sections independently as well for just this one Marketwatch. To remove them, I would just check the box here, or uncheck the box as it is. That won't show up anymore. And then I can also reorder these sections. So we'll move this one back up to the top here. Now, a couple of notes here. First off, if there's no data to populate one of these sections with for this particular report or this particular market, it will just leave that section out. So if there's nothing to show in it, it won't show like a heading for that section and just have it empty. It just won't include the section at all. Secondly, you can see we have a little question mark on each one of these, and that gives you details about exactly what it is that shows up in each of these sections. So once your Marketwatch is all set, or you've done any editing you need to, you just click Done, and you're all set to go. You can see when it was last modified here, and then this will start going out to the customer automatically based on whatever interval I've chosen. And if you want to see details about that, we'll just click Details, and then here we are. This is the next time it's going to send out, and that's when it'll stop sending. So there you have it. Now, that's the first type of Marketwatch. The next type of Marketwatch report is essentially a bulk Marketwatch. It's kind of designed for bulk sharing. You can share it on social media. You can also share it or basically copy it to multiple customer accounts at once. So if you had a single region or a single map boundary area that a lot of your customers are interested in, you could create a single Marketwatch and then copy it all off to them at once. To get to that, we're going to go up here to Marketing and down to Marketwatch Reports. Now, just like how we got to the customer profile page, if I had typed Marketwatch Reports up here into the quick action search bar, Marketwatch Reports, or this page, would have come up as one of my results. So I could have clicked on that and jumped straight through to this page. Now, within this page, you can see we have a record here for each of the Marketwatches I've created already. And just to give you an idea of kind of the contents of each of these, you have your Marketwatch title, you have just a basic summary, basically the area that it's looking at. You have whether or not you're allowing it for social media auto post. So the idea is if you have social connector turned on, if you click on this social button, you can sign into a Facebook account, an Instagram account, a LinkedIn account, or a Twitter account, and you can have these Marketwatches automatically posted there. The way that works is on this next run date, that's basically when this report will regenerate with new data. If it is set to allow an auto post, and that particular thing is connected and set to post Marketwatches, so let's say Facebook, for example, is activated under social media and set to post Marketwatch reports, it will post every one that is marked as allow on every date that it runs. So that's kind of the breakdown of how that works. So if I wanted to create numerous Marketwatch reports here, but I only wanted a couple to post to social media, I can just uncheck this box for all the ones I don't want to post. You can see it saves automatically as I uncheck the box so that only those post. So that's the idea there. My next control here allows me to just kind of quickly change the interval. Now these are set up the same way that the customer-specific Marketwatches are set up. So you'll set an interval when you first create it, but you can modify that interval here really easily. And then you have your actions buttons that allow you to send this out in the various ways it can be sent, and then ultimately your social share buttons. So before I get too into those pieces, this page is capable of producing a Marketwatch report email, just like the one that would go out to agents, or not to agents, but to customers individually. So what I could do is I could create a Marketwatch here, and I could go to Actions, and I could click Add to Customers, and it makes a copy of that email Marketwatch and attaches it to all the customers that I choose. And when I click Add to Customers, I can define individual customers or a whole group. When I click Done, it'll make a copy of this report and attach it to those users. It's important to note that it is a copy. So if I change this again at this point, it won't change for that customer that I attached it to because it didn't really attach it. It just made a copy for them. Likewise, if I go into that customer's account and I make changes to the Marketwatch I copied there from here, those changes are specific to that customer. They don't change it for everyone else that's getting the same Marketwatch report or that's getting a copy of the same Marketwatch report. So that's how I can attach those, but that is the email version that they're getting. The other two versions of these reports are the print version. You can see there's a print button here. And then there's also a social share version, which is basically a hosted version of this Marketwatch that shows up on its own page. So to run through how you can set those up and kind of how we can take a look at a test on each one. First off, we had the Add Marketwatch button up here, would just be how we add new ones. But next, we have our Marketwatch Settings button. So if we click on that, you can see the same segments and segment order setting that's available when setting up those market watches on the on an individual customer basis. But this is controlling your defaults. This controls all of your reports overall, not just a specific report. But other than that, it's exactly the same. You reorder them the same way, and you activate, deactivate sections the same way. And again, if a report goes out where it doesn't have any coming soon listings, for example, then the section just won't be present on that report. Now the next thing we can do here is click on the Templates tab, and I can choose which template I want to use for each different MarketWatch type. So email is the first type that's selected, and this is the template that we're set to use for email. If I wanted to change that, I can just use this arrow to cycle through them, and I would just click on one and click Save, and then that saves that as my new template to use. If I select Print, so these are all of the print templates that are available. And it works exactly the same way. I just scroll through the line, click on the one I want, click Save. And then lastly, the social media version, where I can choose my own social media specific template. And again, I would click on it, click Save Template, and that would save the template that's used for social media. So now when we close this out and go down here, if we take a look under Share, any of these buttons that I use to share out to a specific social media site, that's the template that it's going to use, that social share template that's chosen. If it auto posts to social media, it will also use that social share template, or that's what it will post. Lastly, if I copy this URL, this is essentially the URL of the social share version, a hosted version of this template. Because what it's doing is it's sharing this URL with whatever social media outlet I choose, and that social media outlet will get all of its information from this page, and when you click on it, it will link back to that page. So if I just wanted to see what they would get for this particular MarketWatch, I can click this copy URL, and I can paste that into a new tab, and you can see it loads up that MarketWatch that I have selected for social share. So we move back to our other tab. Now the next thing I can do is if we go under Actions, you can see we have our print version, so if I click on that, print doesn't really need a preview, because when you load up the print before you print it, you are essentially looking at a preview anyway. So if we click that, here is our print version, which you can see I'm using the same template for more than one thing. And if I wanted to print it, I could just click my print button here, and I could print out this template. Next, we have our email version. This allows me to go ahead and send the email, so I could click on this, and now I can select the customers I'd like to email it to. Or if I just want to preview it, I can go down here and I can click Preview Social, but again, copying the URL basically took me to the same place. And I can also click on Preview Email, and this will show us what the email template is going to look like for this particular MarketWatch. And there we go. So there's what our email template would look like. Now the next piece I have here is kind of a value add for the MarketWatch system. I can view just market data from this particular MarketWatch. So if I click on that, you can see it opens this up. This gives me some market information about this MarketWatch. If I want to use this, I can click on Send, and that actually takes the contents of that and moves it into our email blast platform. And then from here, I can set up my recipients. I can email it out to individuals or whole groups, and just like I could send out any other email blast. The nice thing about loading it in here also is that I can modify any of this however I'd like, because it's just within this WYSIWYG editor. So if I don't like this verbiage, I can just change it to whatever I'd like, and I can do that with anything here. Now we'll head back over to our MarketWatches. There we are. So the next thing we can do here is add to customers. We went over that. So you just select add to customers and then enter the groups or individual customers you'd like to copy this MarketWatch report to. You can click on edit to modify it, or you can click on delete, and that makes this one go away entirely. Now as we scroll down a bit, another piece we have on this page is for every MarketWatch report we have created, we have some basic market stats, or kind of this MarketWatch overview section down here at the bottom. So I can click on any one of these, and it will give me all of the statistics related to that particular market. Now I'm dealing with a lot of test data here, so I don't get anything particularly useful there, but the idea is that if you were using this piece, you would get a lot more actual legitimate data from the markets, because you have real market data. But you would just choose those, and you can see this information just at a quick glance and get some kind of basic information about that market. Now the last piece to MarketWatch reports is up here under Automation. If I click on the Automation button, you can see that we do have the ability to automatically create a MarketWatch. whenever a customer makes a showing or an information request on a listing on the website. So basically, the system needs kind of a target listing to center the Marketwatch report on. And if a customer goes to your website and they ask for more information on a listing and they don't already have a Marketwatch report created and sending to them, what this will do is create one with looking at a market that is a 5-mile radius by default around the property they made the request on. And you have the settings in here to allow you to turn that on so that those are created, or switch it off so they're not. You can change this radius if you don't want it to be 5 miles, if that's not going to be an accurate representation of the market for that listing, just kind of based on where you do business. You could turn that down or up to make more sense there. And you can change the interval so that instead of semi-annually, maybe you want that to go out monthly. So you would change that so by default those reports are set up and automatically go out monthly. Now there is a note here. So if you are testing this, know that it can take up to 30 minutes before the Marketwatch is actually created after the customer creates the request on your website. So if you went to if you turned this setting on and then you went to your own website and asked for a showing on a property, for example, just to see how this would work, it can take up to 30 minutes before that report will show up. So there you go. That is how the Marketwatch report system is configured. So that allows you to send out or set up Marketwatch reports for specific customers, or set up these kind of bulk Marketwatch reports that you can use for multiple customers, or just use for social sharing, to print these out, to actually physically hand them out or mail them out, or set them up and email them out through the email blast system if you just want to do kind of a one-off mailing of a Marketwatch report instead of letting the automation go through and send up like a monthly report out to a customer directly. So there you have it. If you have any questions, concerns, as always, feel free to contact support@deltagroup.com or give us a call and we can walk you through this or whatever else you need. Thanks a lot for joining me. I will see you again next week.